Hello, this is Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer.
Welcome home. Soar into tower. We are ready for takeoff.
Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hey, it's Amy from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey Clubbers, it's Scott from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, it's Kathleen from DVC Clubhouse.
Welcome aboard. It's Phil from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Debrief podcast brought to you by DVC Clubhouse. This is Amy, and I'm joined by Kathleen, Scott, and Phil. 2 weeks in a row, you have all four of us. You're all so lucky.
Yep. Hey, guys.
It's been 2 weeks already. Wow, I wish time was flying by that quick. Hi, guys.
Welcome aboard, guys. Yeah, and by 2 weeks in a row, she means we just hit end on one episode and start on another. But you guys are going to hear it 2 weeks apart.
It's the magic of editing and producing.
I'm going to make it sound like two separate episodes, I can assure you.
Well, if anyone listened last week, you would know that we started talking about unpopular opinions. Phil posted on our Facebook group, which is DVC Clubhouse, for people to share their unpopular opinions. It got over 200 comments. And so last week we went through about half of the comments discussing whether or not we agreed with those opinions. And today we are going to finish it up. So what's next on the list, Phil?
Oh, this is going to invoke some strong feelings. Scott had to step back into it. Phantasmic is better than happily ever after. Those were strong words, my friend.
I will die on that hill, and I think a lot of people will die on that hill with me, and especially
I will take aim at all of you so that you die on that hill. Trust me.
Yeah, I just feel, I don't know, happily ever after is great. I'm not taking anything away from that. I'm just simply stating Phantasmic because of its nostalgia, because of everything that is involved in that show, to me, is better than happily ever after.
I fully stand behind you, Scott.
Thank you.
I'm just going to come out and say it. I don't dislike Phantasmic. I don't have a problem with Phantasmic. I think Phantasmic is a decent show. Phantasmic is mid to me. I've never gotten the emotional feelings out of Phantasmic that I have gotten out
You're
of...
a liar. You are lying. I sat next to you and watched it, and you were singing out loud and smiling and having the time of your life. So
it's, I would put it...
I actually saw more emotion out of you in that moment than I ever have, other than maybe when we were riding the Astro Orbiter.
I was screaming in fear on the Astro Orbiter. We were careening around Magic Kingdom quickly.
That is emotion.
Again, I'm not going to sit here and say that Phantasmic is a bad show. I'm not going to say that it's not entertaining. But if you put it on my list of shows, it is going to fall behind Wishes, behind Happily Ever After, behind Illuminations, behind Wondrous Journeys. It just does not rank up there for me in the emotion and the feelings that I get from the show. And again, it doesn't make it a bad show. I would just put it behind all of those.
Agree. Phantasmic is a great show, but it's not, I don't get emotional when I watch Phantasmic. I get emotional every time I watch Happily Ever After. So, sorry, I disagree. I love you.
Kathleen and I are on opposing hills from you, Scott. Sorry.
This
happens all the time where somehow Kathleen and I end up on one hill and Emily and Scott end up on another. It's a little weird.
Yes, and I guess I don't factor into it at all.
I think he meant to call you Amy, but he said Emily.
No, I was talking about Emily because so backstory, we've sat down at dinner before and it's been like, okay, where are we going? Like, where are we staying? And how many times am I like, well, Emily and I differ on this, and then Scott and Kathleen differ on this. It's entertaining to watch.
And I think if you brought in the Disneyland folks who saw the original Phantasmic, I think a lot of Disneyland folks would be jumping on that boat with me right now.
Had I actually gotten to see Murphy, and Amy and I talked about this last week, Murphy burned down a week before I went to Disneyland last time. And I think had I seen Murphy at Rivers of America, that might change my mind a little bit. But, we talked about it last week. That amphitheater, while purpose-built and amazing, it makes me feel like I'm sitting at SeaWorld watching a show. It's just a different feeling to me.
Also,
Isn't that Fantasmic?
your own offspring agreed with me, just so you know.
It's Mackenzie and nothing's been proven yet.
No. I'm looking right at my wife. Your
Oh, you're
offspring.
talking about Lily? Lily also
Yeah.
Lily had some strong statements as well. Lily is also nuking Galaxy's Edge, or as she refers to it, Star Wars land.
Yes, I had to tell her to dial it down a little bit with that one.
I think that as far as Fantasmic goes, I would agree that it's not a show that's going to like give you the feels like in terms of pulling at your heartstrings, but in terms of a full storyline and the production value, it's impressive and it's fun to watch. I mean, I think that Happily Ever After, it has this, it has a great song that pulls at your heartstrings. The projections, projections on the castle in Main Street, USA, literally do nothing for me. There's no, I don't care about those projections whatsoever. So it's all about like the fireworks and the song. So I feel like we're comparing two totally different things. Now, look, I loved Wishes. Wishes did not have projection. I think that the soundtrack was amazing, and I loved that show. So I would say like Wishes and Illuminations for me are above Fantasmic. But of the current nighttime offerings at Walt Disney World, I think that Fantasmic is the current best nighttime show. And for the reasons that I said, it has like an amazing production value, a great set, great song. It's fun. Then it gets like a little scary, and then it ends with like Mickey being, victorious. Like it's just like a fun. It does bring you through emotions. It's just not nostalgia is not necessarily one of them where like you're feeling like, oh, this is like pulling at my heartstrings. You're feeling like the excitement and the fun and the wonder at everything that you're watching unfold in front of you. And it's fun to see all of the characters either on the mountain or on the boats. Like it's just I love that show. I think production wise, I think it's some of their best work.
And you get to sit down as an aging person that's, I don't want to be at the parks all day. At Walt Disney World, I can sit down and watch that show. I don't have to be fighting with people, standing there for hours to get a good spot.
Yeah, there's a concession stand in the back so you can get some popcorn and a drink, sit down, watch the show.
If I could watch Fantasmic from the pool at my Seven Seas Lagoon Resort, maybe it would change my opinion. We rarely watch the fireworks from inside the park anymore. We've got other places we can see it from.
I mean, that said, Phil, I've seen Fantasmic with you 2 times.
Right. Again, I'm not saying that Fantasmic is a bad show. That's not my position at all. I just wouldn't rank it above the others.
I'm just arguing that if you're not watching the fireworks from inside the park, you are watching Fantasmic. I'm just pointing that out.
Yeah, it just, again, it doesn't hit me like the others do. That's all. I just wouldn't rank it above the others.
Yep, me too.
All right. Jennifer jumped in, said she'd rather be in a park waiting in line for a ride than in a lounge. I called her my people.
That's got to be the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Just for the record, she could totally beat you up, so I'd watch my mouth if I were you.
Bring it on. No, I don't agree with that.
How long of a line are we talking about? Like,
that's what I mean.
Am I waiting? Am I waiting for an hour in a line for It's a Small World, or am I sitting at Enchanted Rose having a glass of Chardonnay? Like,
I'm
meet me
still
at
with
Enchanted
Jennifer.
Rose.
I don't drink on vacation with children, and I don't enjoy lounges. So Jennifer and I'll go wait in line together, and I'm sure my kids and Sean come along.
I'm not about waiting. Yeah. Sean doesn't like any rides. So I'm a lounge guy. I'm going to enjoy the lounge. And to me, that's part of the theming and the great experience of Disney World. It's where we do a lot of our meetups at. It's where people get together and have a good time. I don't have to get a drink. They have mocktails. There's all kinds of things. There's great food at the lounges. So, I mean, I don't know. Waiting in line is torture for me when it's 85 degrees outside and 100% humidity. And I'm never going to agree with that statement.
I think it comes down to you're either a lounge person or you're not, and I'm just not a lounge person. All right, Greg jumped in. Going on Disney cruises brings me more joy than going to Walt Disney World. There's just something about Disneyland that he can't say the same thing, though, that he gets joy from Disneyland. But above Walt Disney World, he gets joy from his cruises.
I can understand that statement. I mean, I totally can relate to what he's saying because I have spent more time on cruise ships in the past year than I have in the actual theme parks. Maybe not, maybe with the exception of Epcot, but if you were to add up all of the other days at the other parks, I like the parks, but I think it's my age. I think it's what I enjoy doing. Like, I just need to relax. And Disney World is not relaxing. There's, like, and if I am going to relax, it's not in the parks. It's like we talked about in the last, the last question. I'd rather be at a lounge or at a pool or something. And Disney Cruise Line gives you the unique ability to relax while enjoying the Disney vibes. Disneyland is just not as chaotic as Disney World. It's so much more manageable that it feels easier to relax at Disneyland than it does at Disney World because you have to schlep everywhere. It's hot as hell. And Disneyland, you can like sit in 75-degree sunny weather. And if you need to walk to a park, you're there in 10 minutes from your room.
I feel like there's conditions to that statement that I need to know before I can agree or disagree with it. Because if somebody's going to tell me that I have to go to Walt Disney World and I have to go to the park, then I agree with his statement. I would rather go on a Disney cruise 10 out of 10 times. I would pick going just to Walt Disney World over being on a cruise if I'm thinking of all of the resorts that I have at my fingertips, the dining options, the lounges, and I can just sit back and relax. I can pick a pool. I can go to a pool. Then I can't really get on board with that. As much as I love cruising, if my trip is solely just based on I'm going to go to a resort, I have all of those options of I can just enjoy the resort. I can enjoy the theming, the food, the pool, whatever it is. I'm going to pick that before I pick a cruise. But if you throw in the fact that I have to go to a park, I have to wait in those lines, I have to be out in that heat, then I would probably pick a cruise over a Disney World trip, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand the Disneyland statement, and I said that to him, but we all know where I stand on cruises. I don't need to reemphasize that any more than I already have.
I love DC so I find myself looking at more itineraries than looking to see what's available at a resort. So
I was just going to say, we have more cruises booked than we have current contracts right now through DVC, so that should tell you a lot about where we are with cruising.
I offset you in the other direction. We're good. The next two, I'm not really sure I would count as unpopular opinions. Jacqueline says Disney influencers and personal shoppers are the worst, and they're eroding the experience for others. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. And then Cindy says Coronado Springs is underrated, and if it was DVC, she'd buy in.
So as far as like the influencers go, I watch a lot of those influencers and I like a lot of them. I think what's ruining it, I can't even talk, is Disney itself allowing people to come in and buy 20 things and then reselling it. I think that's the problem. But as far as Coronado, she said it's underrated. I totally agree. Yes.
I don't know if I'd buy in on it being DVC, but I've said for years that Coronado is probably one of the best located resorts on property. And I think it's absolutely beautiful, especially at the tower.
Yeah, I think that when people are talking about Coronado, they're talking about the tower. These are not people that have stayed in the far reaches of those casitas. If that's where they were staying, they wouldn't feel the same way. People feel
No.
that way because they come to the tower, they go up to Dahlia Lounge, they go over to Three Bridges. But beyond that, that resort is before that tower was built, it was just another, sprawling, moderate resort that only had one restaurant, a quick service restaurant, a pretty cool pool area, but you had to take a bus everywhere. That the tower was a game changer for Coronado Springs. And it does such a swift conference building business that having stayed there, I'm not eager to stay there again because it is just when there are conferences there, it is overrun with people from the conference. And I mean, Kathleen and Scott, do you remember the time that we were at the Dolphin at the lobby, and there was that conference, and it was just
Oh yeah.
like people
Yeah.
everywhere. Like Coronado can be that way too, and it completely detracts from the experience. So while I think that the tower has added and elevated experience to what was once kind of like just a very well designed, good concept of a resort, but it it elevated that experience, but it's still in my book, it's like a moderate resort combined with a convention center.
I think everything I love at that resort is in the tower, minus Three Bridges.
Which was added when the tower was built. I mean, that was not there before the tower was built. It
So
was just the Maya
yeah.
Grill. It's Maya Grill, which is arguably the worst Mexican restaurant on Disney property.
What about Rick's? Is that in the tower or is that in the main check-in?
No.
That's like in the walkway over
Yeah.
to but that was new too. Like that food court and Rick's, that was all built new because you walk through what was the old check-in area. They kind of did like a Caribbean beach type of thing, where they moved where the main check-in was. And that main check-in is that stretch when you come down from the lobby and you're walking over to where Rick's is, you walk through what used to be the lobby.
I love everything that Coronado has right now. I mean, we love Three Bridges, we love Toledo, we love Dahlia, Rick's. I mean, you're not going to find a sports bar anywhere else on property really anymore. And even Barcelona. Barcelona's good too.
Yeah, all of that is great. I think all of that is great.
All right, Scott, you came in again. Old Key West and Port Orleans Riverside should switch categories. I argued that maybe they already have. We just don't call it that.
I don't know that would necessarily be an unpopular opinion, but I just feel like there's a lot more magic happening over at Riverside. I think there's a lot more to do at Riverside. Old Key West, is Old Key West, and you guys know how I feel about it.
No argument here, buddy.
I'm trying to find something nice to say about it, but I think Riverside has a better lounge. I think Riverside has a better restaurant I think Boatwright's is better than Olivia's, and they have a food court there that is fantastic. Yeehaw Bob over at Riverside, there's nothing like that over at Old Key West. I mean, they can't really do that there because everybody's in bed by 7:00. But I just don't think. I mean, the quick service at Old Key West is goods.
What quick service at Old Key West?
Well,
are we even calling it that? It's embarrassing.
And I've stated, the difference between Riverside and Old Key West, because people will say, well, it's laid out the same way. There's buildings here. They have the Alligator Bayou. They have Partier Place. They have the Magnolia. The difference to me is there's not one of those buildings where you can't walk from your room to the main part of the resort. Old Key West, you can't do that. It's far too spread out. You cannot go from Turtle Pond or whatever that is to the main part. You could walk, but you're going to spend 30 minutes walking there. But to me, that's what the difference is. So the bus loop isn't nearly as bad. There's a better gift shop there. There's a better, like I said, the restaurant, the lounge, the food court, just the feel of it to me I would switch them out. I would call Riverside Deluxe, and Old Key West to me is maybe moderate.
Well, I think that this is, I mean, and I know that I'm splitting hairs here and we've talked about this before, but Old Key West is not a deluxe resort. It's a deluxe villa. It's a different category from, like Yacht Club. They are not in the same category. Things like got confusing when they started opening up villas at already existing deluxe resorts, but they all fall under the deluxe villas category. So, I mean, and look, I think that moderate resorts kind of get a bad rap because I think that they have a lot to offer. Because I think all of the moderate resorts have good restaurants, good food courts, good entertainment, good lounges, good shops, and really nice grounds. So I think that anytime we're like, oh, we're calling something a moderate resort, people get super defensive because it's as if we're saying that it's, that it's trash. But I think that the moderate resorts, and if
no, we saved that for the All-Stars.
And it, right, like if you asked so many people in the DVC Clubhouse Facebook group, their favorite resorts are moderate resorts. They're the resorts that they first started staying at when they were going to Disney World, either as kids or teenagers or when their kids were young. So I think that moderate resorts get kind of a bad rap, and I think that they have a lot to offer. I think Disney was really intentional about creating a category of resorts that has amenities that appeal to families at a more affordable price. And really the differentiation between them is the proximity to the parks, with the exception now of Caribbean Beach having Skyliner access, which makes it, kind of like the more preferred moderate resort because you don't have to take a bus everywhere. But Old Key West was not built as a moderate resort or a deluxe resort. It was built as its own thing. So I would never call Old Key West a deluxe resort. It's a DVC resort. And with it, I get deluxe villa perks. Like when I stay there, I can have extended evening hours and, whatever else the deluxe resort perks are, which aren't many, but.
Yeah, we've had this discussion before, and I think that's a cop out. I think Disney calls it a deluxe. Therefore, it's a deluxe. If you get your deluxe resort benefits and you call it a deluxe villa, they still use the word deluxe. They do so intentionally. But as we've said before, there are different levels of moderates and there are different levels of deluxe resorts, and not all of them are created equal.
I would argue that the pools at the moderates are better than a lot of the pools at the DVC resorts. I think that Coronado and Caribbean Beach and Riverside all have great pools. And the one thing I left out about Riverside too is its little brother that you could walk to, French Quarter. To me, that's like the best of both worlds. Like when you are at Animal Kingdom and you have Jumbo and Kidani that you can experience both of, just to be able to take that walk over to French Quarter. They have Scat Cats. You get the beignets over there. I just think it's an added perk. You can take a carriage ride over there. I don't think they do that anywhere else. You can jump on a horse carriage and just ride on over to French Quarter. To me, those are things that scream deluxe for me.
All right. The next one, just based on the amount of feedback, I think probably qualified as the most unpopular opinion. And that was Kathleen saying It's a Small World is amazing. She had 10 clapbacks on that, to be precise.
Well, it is.
At Disneyland.
That's my opinion. It is amazing at Disneyland. So amazing that I have not even been on it at Walt Disney World since being on it at Disneyland. I walk past it now.
That's a very important distinction, though. Like, to say Small World is amazing, like you almost have to say at Disneyland. Because once you see Disneyland's, even if you like Small World on the East Coast, you're like, what is that abomination?
Yeah. Yeah, I look at Disney World now like, meh.
You're right.
I wouldn't go so far as to call it an abomination.
It's an abomination.
Yeah, I won't go on it. I won't go on Small World on Disney World again after that. And I'm not going to call Disneyland's amazing, but I will call it 500% better than Disney World's for sure. I mean, it's huge. It's got the projections at night with the nighttime show. It's like somebody took a flagship restaurant or something and put it there and highlighted it in Disneyland. And then they took the same concept and same idea and stuck it in like a strip mall at Disney World and wanted it to be just as good. And it's not even close.
Actually, Phil and I were talking about Disneyland versus Disney World in the couple weeks ago. And that comparison, Scott, Fantasyland in Magic Kingdom is like a Renaissance strip mall.
My eyeballs actually clicked. I blinked so hard because that was such an apt description.
It is a really Renaissance-themed strip mall.
It's like they forgot. Like they were trying to mirror Disneyland, and then they were like, oh, where are we going to put all these things at? So they just want to cram them in somewhere that, the main attraction to me, Magic Kingdom, Disney World, the main attractions there are the quick service restaurants, the rides, but they do a lot of quick service restaurants there that I don't think Disneyland has. And that sacrificed a lot of space that Disneyland uses for the good original nostalgic rides. And I'm talking Mr. Toad's. I'm talking all of the ones that Alice in
Hatter.
Wonderland. Yeah, like all of those.
I'm mentally walking through Fantasyland in Walt Disney World right now. I'm in my mind. I am walking through, and all of Fantasyland is now a strip mall in my mind. It right up to Friar Tuck's and Winnie the. It's a strip. The entirety of Fantasyland is a strip mall. Scott has revolutionized the way that I'm looking at Fantasyland now.
I
It's a
can't
strip
wait to
mall
see it.
with a carousel right in the middle of it,
Which a lot of
Yeah.
strip malls have.
Wait,
They're
I
not
was
as big
just
as a
gonna say-
carousel,
exactly.
but
That's what I mean.
Well, I can't wait to see it at Christmas time. Like, well, during the holidays. I want to see it out there.
Yeah.
all right. Next up, Amy, here's where we're going to load yours in. Sean says Polly is overrated. High point charts, not stroller friendly, packed like sardines in the main pool. Resort as a whole is too crowded with people not staying there, and the longhouses scream outdated tiki culture.
Yeah, well, I mean, my comment was that I felt like if you put Polynesian anywhere other in the park that is not in, such close proximity to a park, it's basically a moderate in terms of the sprawling layout. Yeah, you don't have a bus loop, but some of those longhouses are awfully far from the Great Ceremonial House. If you've got a really hot day or a pouring rain day, walking over to the Great Ceremonial House is annoying. The restaurants, I mean, in my opinion, the restaurants are just mid. They are not worthy of, when you look at the resorts on either side of Polynesian, both of them have excellent restaurants. Polynesians are just very kind of like like they're like casual eateries versus like upscale dining experiences. And I think that the pools are like that main pool is one that you could see. I honestly think that the pool at Caribbean Beach and Coronado are better than the pools than that feature pool at Polynesian. I do think that the Polynesian splash area is one of the best ones on property, but the pool itself just is kind of, I don't know. I kind of miss the old pool, like the old lava rocks with the slide that you came through. Like it was like very 1970s, but I don't know. I was kind of into that vibe. And I just think that overall, like the lobby is, while it is big, it is just crowded. It doesn't feel like it, I don't know. It kind of like doesn't feel to me any different than like when you walk into Riverside or, like those are nice lobbies. And again, it's not to knock them because I don't think that I think moderate resorts are great. I just think that Polynesian doesn't have as elevated as, as an experience as the other deluxe resorts.
I don't know. I like Polynesian, or I like the longhouses. I'd rather stay at the longhouses than the new tower. I agree with the pool. Every time that we've been there, the pool has been packed, like uncomfortably packed. But I do like the DVC pool better, like the other pool. But
The Oasis pool is where it's at.
yeah. If there's a room available and I'm looking to stay on property, I mean, I was just looking the other day when, my mom's coming down. It's available, and I haven't stayed there in a while, so I might get it. I mean, I like it. It's not my top 3, but I like it.
Well, and I don't dislike it. My point
Yeah.
is that it's the number one thing that it has going for it is location.
Mhm.
And if you put it someplace else, like if you put it where Old Key West is, I don't think that it would be as popular. I think people would feel like it's dated, it's crowded, the longhouses, well, maybe it wouldn't be as crowded if it wasn't as close and wasn't on the monorail line, but the longhouses make it so that there's a far walk, depending on which one you're staying at, from the Great Ceremonial House. And it has relatively mid restaurants.
So I think there's kind of a double standard there because we just talked about how Boardwalk and Beach Club, you stated that their best thing about them is their proximity to the park. So to say that those are super high ranking because of their proximity to International Gateway, but then to say that that's not an asset for Poly, I think is a little disingenuous. I don't know that
No,
I'd call
because
it overrated.
I also made the same comparison about if I put if I put Crescent Lake where, Old Key West is, I would still be drawn to it because of how pretty I think the resorts are, how great the pool complex is, how architecturally and from a design perspective and from the dining perspective, like those are still great. If you just put Polynesian over there, like I just don't think, and yes, I Boardwalk and Beach Club both. The number one thing is their proximity to two parks. But there are other things then that still like make it great, like the dining, like the lounges, like, you know, the um the the decor. It's like feels like more updated. It feels more elevated. It feels more I don't know, it just feels more uh, uh, you know, it just feels more elevated to me than the Polynesian experience.
Okay, my turn. So, as I was saying, I don't think that it's overrated. I don't think the point chart is any worse than any of the others on Seven Seas. I think it falls kind of between Grand Floridian and Bay Lake Tower. And I think that kind of makes sense based on what we know about Bay Lake Tower. Stroller friendly, I guess he's referring to the elevators, which I can understand. The elevators are super tiny, being an older resort. And if you've got a family that's got multiple suitcases, you actually have problems getting in there. I don't disagree at all with packed like sardines in the main pool. That main pool, as Kathleen said, is mobbed. I would much rather go over to the Oasis pool. And I completely agree that it's too crowded with people not staying there. That was my argument with the beaches and with the monorails. Like, you cannot move if you're staying there from place to place. I don't think that it's too spread out and feels like a walk. I mean, walking from one end of Beach Club to the other end of Yacht Club, I would actually have to look at the overlay. I think it's probably every bit as spread out as Polynesian is. And I kind of enjoy the walk, especially in the summer with the lanterns going through. The thing that cracked me up about it was that longhouses scream outdated tiki culture. I think tiki culture, by definition, is actually outdated. I don't think you can have a current day tiki culture. I think that's the kitsch that people like. I mean, Sean came in and said the same thing. He likes the outdated tiki culture. I personally think, we've had an episode about this. I think that the tower points are way too high. I think the tower location stinks. I think they've got huge issues there as far as transportation, as far as getting from the tower over to the Grand Ceremonial House. You can't easily move your bags. You can't get your Instacart deliveries. That tower is like a huge outlier. But from a DVC perspective, especially, your DVC buildings are almost right on top of the Grand Ceremonial House. So, I mean, if you're staying DVC, you are right there between Tokelau, Pago Pago, and Moorea.
I like Polynesian. I'll step in. I like Polynesian. I like it because of the nostalgia. I think, like Amy said, I think that if you were to move it somewhere else, I feel like I probably wouldn't want to stay there as much. But there's something about that place. I don't know. When we go there, we talk about the feels and stuff. Like, you just feel like you're at Disney. Like, it just feels like it's just something different about that. The theming of it, everything is great. Maybe it doesn't have the best restaurants. Maybe there's things about it that aren't, the best. But I feel like just for me, it's mid. It's not at the top of my list, and it'll never be at the bottom of my list. But
I also feel like it's really great for families. I think that it's one of the only deluxe resorts that doesn't feel like it has like, other than if you were to go to Trader Sam's, but that's such like a novelty experience. That's not like there's just really no place at Polynesian that feels like is a great place for adults to just go and relax and unwind, that I think every other deluxe resort on property has.
I think actually the downfall of that resort, at least from a family standpoint, is, or at least was, I mean, the tower has remedied some of that, but those studios and being limited to studios in the longhouses, actually, as the kids got older, made it tougher and tougher to justify going to Polynesian, because even though it's 440 square feet, you get spoiled with those bigger rooms at the other resorts, and having to cram a family in for any length of time into a studio got really difficult. So that actually, from a family perspective, there are other resorts that I think are better in a lot of respects.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, Renee says the Grand Floridian is too pretentious. I actually grossly disagree with this. I before we stayed at Grand Floridian, I felt that way, and then having stayed there, I don't think it's pretentious at all.
I think it defines deluxe. I just think it defines deluxe. I think of everything that they have to do there, just because it looks prettier or it might have that feel of, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why people feel that way, but I mean, there are people that walk through there in their pajamas. It's not like you have to be wearing a fancy dress or a polo shirt to visit that place. The restaurants to me define deluxe. I mean, even they have a buffet there at 19, what's it called? 100 Park Fair.
1900 Park Fair.
The tea room just came back. I mean, I don't like tea, but I want to try it. There's just things about that resort that are just elevated, and I think they just go the extra mile to make it definitely live up to the name of deluxe. And I think the pricing can be a little bit ridiculous when you're talking about Enchanted Rose. But I don't know. Pretentious, I would never say. To me, that's if you're going to pay for a premium experience, and I'm talking deluxe, that to me, they're making the extra effort there at Grand Floridian.
And I don't understand that truly, because they are Disney cast members. I feel like places feel pretentious when the staff treats you differently if you're not staying there. That is not the experience that you get at the Grand Floridian. You walk in, and whether you're staying there or not, you are greeted with the same Disney hospitality as if you were walked into an all-star resort. And, Mary from the group, she posts all the time, whether she's staying at Grand Floridian or not, she goes over and says hello to Esther, one of the greeters at the Grand Floridian, every single time she's at Disney World. And she takes a picture with her, and Esther is friendly and remembers Mary and makes her feel special and makes sure that she's having a magical stay. And that has been my experience at every single lounge and restaurant at the Grand Floridian. I've never been made to feel when I am there by any cast member that I don't belong there. And that to me is when I have had experiences at places that I have felt are pretentious, it's because of the way that I was treated by the people who work there, who are acting like I don't belong there. And I've never once felt that at Grand Floridian.
I just feel like the word pretentious is used by people who wish they had more at their own place that they liked. I don't like that word. I don't think that it's fair. And like Amy said, like it's not, it's what it should be. I mean, you can't knock a resort because they have 5 restaurants or they have one of the better lounges or they're within walking distance to a park, whatever it might be. I don't know how anybody could say it's too hoity-toity. And like I said, there's no dress code to walk into that resort. You can just walk in there. They put the tree up. You can go in there and buy treats for Easter. You can buy when the gingerbread house is up. It's a beautiful resort. I just don't know why it's considered, to be pinky up compared to anything else.
Yeah, I think people just tend to put that label on it, but I've never felt that way at Grand Floridian, not even one bit.
Never.
Just because it's it's up there and how nice everything is doesn't make it pretentious. All right, a bunch of the others were kind of repeats, but let's hit a few more. So Lauren loves Pizza Fari. Yeah, I'd say that's an unpopular opinion.
Hey, I
I
like
don't
pizza
think that I've
fari.
ever eaten there.
I don't think I've had that. I don't think I've
I
had
have.
that one.
Yeah, I have. Me and Lily, we went there, and again, I eat like a child, so something good to me might be, but I like it. But I also like pillow pizza, so
All right, how about this one? Wilderness Lodge, particularly Copper Creek, is low on the list for DVC stays.
I agree with that.
Not at Christmas
Wilderness
time.
Lodge, Copper Creek, or both?
Copper Creek. I'd
As
rather
a
stay at
Copper
Boulder
Creek
Ridge.
owner, as a Copper Creek owner, I agree with that. And somebody wrote, I don't like the Copper Creek furniture. It looks like IKEA furniture. Was that on our thread or did I see that someplace else? I totally agree. I feel like the Copper Creek furniture is like this weird modular, like it looks like a dorm room to me. And
Mhm.
again, the only reason why I bought points there was because I wanted to be able to stay at Wilderness Lodge at during the holidays, which I can't. So I regret that contract because I can't stay there when I want to. I don't like the rooms. The room that I stayed at was one of the noisiest rooms that I've ever stayed in at any DVC resort. I love Boulder Ridge. I would stay Boulder Ridge 10 out of 10 times if given the choice.
Scott's shaking his head, but I'm fully on board with Amy. If I didn't have to stay at Copper Creek ever again, I would be okay with it. But if you told me I could never stay at Boulder Ridge ever again, I would be heartbroken. I think it is two completely different resorts on the same property.
I disagree. I just feel like if I'm going to stay at Wilderness Lodge, Copper Creek is Jumbo, Boulder Ridge is Kidani. That's how I make the comparison. And I feel like I walk into Copper Creek, that main lobby area, and that's where it's at for me. The tree is there for Christmas time. There's more going on. There's the lounge. There's the restaurants, which might not be the best restaurants. We've had a great room there up on the 5th floor. That was as soon as you walk out of your door, you're looking right at the lobby. There's a great view that looks out to that waterfall and the geyser that's in the middle of the resort. The pool is right there. I'm Team Copper Creek. I like Boulder Ridge, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say Boulder Ridge is terrible, but that's how I make the comparison. To me, Copper Creek is Jumbo, Boulder Ridge is Kidani.
I love the lobby, and I think you get that with both. But for some reason, just personally, the magic for me is that walk down the pathways and under all the coverings at night going back to Boulder Ridge. Is just something in that walk for me. And then especially if you get the right views looking out at the water from Boulder Ridge, that to me is a very similar view as looking out over Bay Lake from Bay Lake Tower. It's just there's something there on the Boulder Ridge side.
And I like the little nooks and crannies of Copper Creek to go up on each of the little individual floors and be able to find the little hidden fireplaces or the little areas where you can sit. And I think Boulder Ridge has that too. I think there's like that lobby when you first walk into Boulder Ridge. There's like that little area off to the side where they have like games and things like that. The fireplace is right there. But something about Copper Creek, it just seems like every level you go on, you could find a hidden place to just kind of relax. I did that after my half marathon. I think we were staying at Copper Creek and we found a place up on one of the floors. There was a fireplace there. We were waiting for the room and I took a good hour nap and it was just quiet and peaceful as can be.
I think the difference for me about, when you compare Jumbo to Kidani is like quite a walk from Jumbo. So if you were in your room at Kidani, it could take you 20 minutes to get to the Jumbo lobby.
I was talking main attraction. I'm talking about where it's at, like where stuff is at. I know what you mean, but I'm talking,
Yeah, but I don't feel like at Boulder Ridge, like I'm so far removed that I can't do all of the things that you just described. And if the Copper Creek rooms looked more like the rooms at Wilderness Lodge on the hotel side, I probably would feel better about Copper Creek than I do. I think that their choice of decor was poor. It's very camp. Like I feel like it's like they tried to make it look like an elevated like Boy Scout camp lodge with like very modular furniture that just is like not my vibe. So and because of that, everything is like a hard surface. It just feels like everything is loud and echoey in those rooms versus like on the hotel side, they have like the headboards are quilted. So like there's stuff to absorb the noise. Whereas in the Copper Creek rooms, it just feels loud. I don't know. It just feels loud and it doesn't feel as upscale as the Wilderness Lodge rooms do or the Boulder Ridge rooms.
Yeah, I'd say I agree with that. Okay, Glenn Davis said the electric water pageant is annoying and should go away. I'm probably going to remove him from the group for that statement, but what do you guys think?
Totally
That made me laugh out loud. Like I literally laughed out loud when I read it because like I don't feel strongly either way. I feel like it's nostalgic and why would you take it away? But the fact that he wrote that, knowing that like that is definitely like in the spirit of the question, that was an unpopular opinion that people like would have pitchforks for. And as soon as I read it, I just cracked up. Not even because I have a strong opinion, but just because I was like, oh, Glenn.
You knew that was just going to stir the pot hard.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. I stop and watch it every time. So,
all right, let's see. A lot of these are kind of just repeats on a theme. Earl of Sandwich is the best quick service option at Walt Disney World. I don't know if that's necessarily unpopular.
Bruce has been that ever since he joined the group, he's been trying to, I think, sell Earl of Sandwich, which is the best restaurant at Disney World.
Does he own stock there? Is that what it is?
He needs sponsored.
Yeah. I mean, wait till he goes to Disneyland and sees that they're opening an Earl of Sandwich tavern. I mean, because he's a big bourbon drinker. If he could have a bourbon and an Earl of Sandwich, I mean, that might be actually his version of heaven. He will have died and gone to heaven with a bourbon in one hand and an Earl of Sandwich in the other hand.
So speaking of Disneyland versus Disney World, Cynthia said Disneyland food is hands down superior to Walt Disney World food. Are there any disagreements there?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that's a pretty popular opinion. The one thing I will say is just because of the sheer size of Disney World versus Disneyland, there's really only there's Napa Rose, and then there's the Carthay Circle, which is like their most upscale in-park restaurant. There's not as much upscale dining at Disneyland, but all of the restaurants that they have are solid. So
Right, but we've said some of their quick service beats a lot of our table service. I mean, it's just a totally different way of looking at things.
true.
Yes, I would take a quick service at Disneyland. We just talked about Coral Reef on the last episode. I would take quick service Disneyland over a lot of table service restaurants here. But like Amy said, there's more at Walt Disney World as far as upscale. There's just more variety. I don't think you could say that. I would say quick service is definitely better, but table service is kind of iffy for me.
All right, what about Jennifer? Strollers in the park should be illegal. The only exception is if your kid can't walk.
I disagree with that.
I disagree.
I don't know that I'd make them illegal, but goodness, I mean, you look at pictures of years ago, kids were walking. Like, it's come to the point where half of Fantasyland is stroller parking.
Well, I mean, some kids need strollers.
I don't know that some kids need strollers as much as the parents need a shelf or,
A place
storage
to put
space.
a place to put their stuff.
Yeah, and then you see the 12-year-old jump into the stroller. It's like, I don't know.
I mean, you see it. Look at next to the carousel in Fantasyland. That's strollers as far as the eye can see. Look at Liberty Square. Stroller parking as far as the eye can see. Look beside the land. Stroller parking as far as the eye can see. There's definitely an overload of strollers, so I can understand
I
it.
totally get that, but I also believe that there's reasons that we might not be aware of that a child could need a stroller, or they might look fine, but who knows? There's so many situations. I just don't think that it should be illegal. That's all.
The one thing that I have noticed about the stroller situation in the parks is I feel like when my kids were young, and look, I've put my kids in strollers when they were 6 years old and push them around the park. It's 95 degrees. Their legs are tired. Like, if I want to enjoy myself, I need my kids to be able to sit down. And if I want to get someplace quickly, I'm like, sit your butt down into that stroller, and I am going to navigate through this crazy crowd to get us out of here. But the one thing that I noticed is when I would put my kids in strollers, I would rent them from the parks, and only at like specific parks. And the stroller parking was filled predominantly with those strollers that you would rent in the park. It seems now like everyone brings their own strollers, and they're massive. Like, I do feel like and I get that it's expensive to rent the strollers and it's nice to be able to bring your own, but some people's double strollers are like, I mean, like, you're going off-roading with these things. Like, the ones that they would rent in the park are like more streamlined and compact, so they don't take up like, there may have been the same amount of them, but they don't take up as much space. These people have these giant strollers. So I do see like where the size of the stroller, and I don't think that people should be pushing their double strollers through food courts in your resort. Like, that becomes to me, that becomes like a say, unless, to your point, Kathleen, unless there's like a necessity, that becomes a safety issue where these strollers are like blocking pathways for people to be able to get by. But I don't know. I don't know. Do you guys notice that the majority of the strollers are ones that people have brought themselves versus ones that they're renting in the park?
The
Yeah,
bulk
yeah.
of them are actually strollers that are rented, but they're rented from outside services. So they're still being rented. They're just being delivered for the week and then picked up.
but they're not the ones that you get in the park that are like narrow
No,
or
they're
more
Bob's
compact.
and
It's like,
cities,
yeah.
and yeah, they're double wides. I mean, I'm just gonna say, as far as I'm concerned, we can nuke the strollers and the ECVs. They can all go away. No replies. Come on, guys.
People need them. I mean, you can't deny it. They need it for mobility issues.
Y'all are too soft. All right. All right. We'll end with this one. Scott said Dole Whip is overrated. Kathleen?
That is so false, especially coconut Dole Whip.
Coconut pineapple swirl. And he wanted rainbow sherbet from Walmart. You're married to this man.
Have you ever had that? Have you ever had that?
Okay, listen. I like the rainbow. Okay, I do. But it is not better than coconut Dole Whip.
Okay, coconut Dole Whip is good. I will say that. But the standard pineapple Dole Whip, I just watched a YouTube video. Actually, Cindy and Jess from the group had me watching a video of a guy that was ranking food from Disneyland, Epcot. They did Dollywood, and they did, what was the other one? Knott's Berry Farms. And they actually totaled up the scores. And the only thing that made Disneyland win was the false, idiotic score of a 7 out of 10 for a pineapple Dole Whip, which to me makes no sense because I felt like it's, at best, it's a 5 out of 10 on a hot day. Coconut is good. There's a new one at Disney Springs that's peach, and I could see that being good.
Ugh.
But pineapple, just regular Dole Whip, to me, I'm not getting that. I would never get that. I'm going to get any ice cream on property. I'm going to get a Mickey Premium Bar. I'm going to get the ice cream sandwich. I'm just not going to go for the Dole Whip. Sorry.
All right, so if I qualify this, because I want to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples or ice creams to ice creams as it may be, are you specifically calling out the pineapple Dole Whip or Dole Whip in general? Because that's a very big distinction.
I'm calling out Dole Whip in general. The coconut is the only exception that I've had that I've enjoyed. The other ones to me are just standard. I would rather eat sherbet from the grocery store than a raspberry or an orange or a pineapple or whatever it might be.
All right, so if you're limiting it only to pineapple Dole Whip, I'm on board with you. But as soon as you give me the swirls, the coconut and pineapple or the pineapple vanilla, then you and I are going to throw hands.
If Dole Whip disappeared from Disney World forever, I wouldn't even notice and I wouldn't care.
Thank you. I'd still go. I'd still spend a poop ton of money. And I don't think they would miss the revenue from the Dole Whip.
Well, I mean, to recount Jennifer's position, you guys wouldn't miss it because they're not serving Dole Whips in the lounges. Jennifer and I are in the park. It becomes far more important.
No, they do serve Dole Whip at some of the lounges and they put rum in it. And I don't need that either.
Polly, they do it at your Polly. And
yeah,
I mean,
I've gotten it for Emily before, actually.
With the sangria in it or whatever it was. But yeah,
no, I think it was rum. I think at the window rum. I think I've gotten it for Emily before with the rum in it.
Mm.
All right. Everything else is another modification on the same for the most part. So I think 2 almost hour-long episodes, I think, wraps this one up.
Good discussion.
Yeah, we need another poll.
Okay, well, you guys are going to have to start stirring the pot on the next one because I did my part.
I'm sure Scott can think of another one.
Oh, I have every confidence that Scott can stir the pot.
I was going to say I don't have many natural abilities, but stirring the pot might actually be one that I could take credit for. I'm looking at you,
right,
Riviera fans.
It was very nice of Jennifer Bates to point out that this was the most active Phil has ever been on the Facebook page and was concerned for his well-being because of his introversion, that he might be overloaded and bit off more than he could chew by having to respond to everybody.
Oh, no, I love Dissent and Discord. Are you kidding me? This was like embracing the dark side, just letting it flow through me. It was fantastic.
No, Phil wasn't engaging on this post. Phil was just the creator of the chaos. And if anybody's ever watched The Simpsons, he was like Smithers in the background, just going, excellent.
That's exactly how it worked.
He
I
actually did respond to people, which was,
I think maybe I had 4 responses total. But yeah, I mean, this was just me lighting the fuse, kicking open the door, throwing it in, and closing the door behind me just to see what kind of bang it made.
It was a good one.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for the second episode. Thank you, as always, everybody, for listening along. Y'all know the deal. Head over to Apple Podcasts. Give us a like, a 5-star review. It'd be awesome. Amy?
And you can find us on Facebook at DVC Clubhouse. You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. So you can subscribe to us over there. And until next time, we'll DVC you real soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
And so our journey comes to an end.
Oh, no, please, can't we go back to page 1 and do it all over again?
We started this thing together, and that's how we'll finish it.
Because that, my friends, is where the magic lives.